What's up guys, Bua Davis here. Today we will talk about how you can make this spaceship shooter game, and we will discuss how to set up character, how to set up the projectile shooting, and a lot more. Before we begin, if you like my content and want to see more videos like this, please smash that like button and subscribe to channel. Now without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, I set up this 3D scene for us to work for today, and I have prepared some free assets from the Unity's asset store, and I will leave links to all of them in the description down below, and feel free to use them however you want. But if you have some other assets in mind, you can do it as well. Well, all I did, I just placed some buildings into my scene, and let's talk about game flow before we begin. To have an idea what we are gonna do, we will have our spaceship and it will have automatic forward movement, and what we are gonna control is his left and right side movement, and we will try to avoid these obstacles, and those buildings will act actually like obstacles, and if we crash on them our level will restart. If you want to use the same buildings as me, you can go in the White City pack, and in the prefabs folder there are buildings. Just drag any of these buildings into your scene and make sure to add some collider. You can click on this add collider and search here for box collider, for example, and it will add box collider. Just make sure to add colliders to all of your obstacles and play test and place few buildings, few obstacles into your scene. And now let's work on our spaceship. For our spaceship, I have prepared this pack, and I will use this shiny silver spaceship for today. And to see how it looks on the game view, we can drag this game view on the right side, and let's adjust position of our spaceship a little better. Here is our camera. And let's move our spaceship a little bit back, okay, to have nice view. We can adjust this position obviously anytime we want. I think it looks fine for now. Yeah, it looks fine. And now let's work on our spaceship because it needs few components in order everything to work. So click on your spaceship, and in the inspector you will see this add component. Click on the add component, and first of all we need to add some collider. And let's use box collider once again. You can click on the F to zoom in on your keyboard, and this collider looks tiny compared to our spaceship. And we can click on this edit collider and make our collider bigger. Of course, you don't have to be super precise guys, but just try your best to fit your spaceship correctly, and we can change it in any time as well. But for now I think our collider looks fine. This is how it looks like, just green box around our spaceship. This is to just collide with those buildings and to be able to control our level restarting, right? And we also need to add one more component. So click on the edit component and type here rigid body. This is physics components, and we will use it to control our movement. And we are ready to go and make our spaceship to actually move, because otherwise our spaceship is pretty boring. So to do it, we need C# script. If you don't know how you can create C# script, you can just go in the empty space of the assets window and create C# script. I named it flyship, and just make sure to drag this flyship or whatever you named it into your spaceship. Let's double check, and indeed it's here. So let's double click on the flyship and let's start working. First of all, we need reference to our rigid body, so type rigid body and let's name it RB. We also need two public floats. Public float speed, and this will be for our turning speed, so for our left and right movement. And we need public float for our forward speed, so let's name it forward speed. Why not? In this chart, we can say that RB equals get component. Component name is rigid body. Don't forget parentheses. And what it does, it just gets reference to our rigid body. And now we can use our RB, and it will be act like our rigid body, right? And I already changed this fixed update, but you will have this update. Just delete this update, and instead let's type fixed update, and this fixed update will handle our physics little better. And in fixed update, first thing that we are gonna do, we can store our input on the horizontal axis, which will control our left and right movement. To do it, let's make some variable and let's name it x, or something else. I will name it x. Var x will be equal input get axis, and axis we want is horizontal. Just make sure to type everything correctly, otherwise your game won't work. And now we can change our rigid body's velocity to actually move our spaceship, and we can do it like this. rb.velocity is equal new vector 3. This new vector 3 basically takes three parameters, x, y, and z. For the x, which will be our left and right movement, we will say that x, because we have this x variable to store our horizontal input, right? For the y, we don't need to change anything, and for the z, we will say forward speed. Now, if you are a little bit confused about those lines, I will show you exactly why we are doing this. So let's go back in Unity and let's have a look to our spaceship. Well, first it should compile. All right. If we click on our spaceship, you will see that it has this transform component, which has this position, rotation, and scale. And if we change our spaceship's position, so if we move forward, our z-axis will change, as you will see, and z-axis indeed change. So for the forward movement, we need to change our z-axis. For the left and right movement, we should change x-axis. All right. And y we don't need to change. It will control height, and we don't want to change height for this game. All right. So x-axis will be for our left and right movement, and z for our forward speed. That's why we say for the x, we just store our horizontal input. For the y, we just say 0f because we are not going to change it. And for the z, we need some forward speed. And by the way, we will assign some values to speed and forward speed in Unity, in the inspector when we go back. But first, we need three cases. First, we need if x is less than 0, it means that we are pressing A key and we want to have a move on the left side. So let's type rb.velocity new vector 3. And what our new vector 3 will look like is we will take x and multiply it by some speed, because we need to actually move on the left side and have some speed. For the y, we don't need anything, so 0f, and we will leave forward speed again for the z. Let's duplicate these lines 2 times, 1 and 2, and the second one will be for when we are not touching A or D key, so double equal sign, and this third one will be when we are touching D key and we want to move on the right side, and this will be exactly same. Let's just delete the second one because we don't need it yet. And I think everything looks fine. Let's save our script. By the way, to save your script, you can click on the Ctrl S or Command S if you are on Mac. And let's go back in Unity. And first of all, let's see our spaceship. It has the speed and forward speed. So let's make speed 10, forward speed 10. just to make sure that everything works fine. Right? Let's press play, and indeed our spaceship moves, and when we are touching A or D, it moves left and right. But right now our camera stays still while our spaceship moves, which is not what we want. So let's make our camera to actually move our player. It's very simple. And for it, let's create new C# script. I already have one empty script and I named it camera follow. Just make sure to add this camera follow to your main camera. And let's open this camera follow script. It will be very simple. We just need two variables. Public transform player. You can name it spaceship or something else. I will name it player. And public vector free offset, and I will explain what is this offset and why we need it very shortly. We don't need this start, and in the update we will say the transform.position, which means our main camera's position will be equal to our player.position plus offset. Now let's save this script and I will talk about offset when we go back in Unity. So let's go back in Unity, let your script compile, and let's see. If we have a look on our main camera, first of all we need to add this player. So let's add our spaceship here, drag and drop. And right now we are not using any offset. Offset is 0, 0, 0. If we press play, you will see that our camera is inside our player, our spaceship, and that's not the view that we want, right? That's why we need some offset. And let's change offset on the Y to be 2.75 and for the Z to be minus 14.83, and I just know approximately that those values will work. You might need some other values if your spaceship is positioned differently than mine. And just let's press play and see if everything looks fine. Alright, we are looking good, but our spaceship is very slow. So let's change speed to have some power and some more speed. For the speed, let's say 200, and for the forward speed, let's say 500. And let's see how it looks like. Alright, our spaceship now moves forward and we can control left and right movement, which is fine. But I don't like our left and right movement. It's quite robotic, but if you want to leave it as it is, it's no problem. But I want to have some wing movement and to my spaceship to go actually a little bit on the side when we are moving on the left or on the right. So if you want to do it as well, we can create two empty game objects in our spaceship. So click on your spaceship and create empty. Let's name it turn left. Let's duplicate this, Control D to duplicate, and let's name it turn right. Alright, just make sure they are positioned together. And for the turn left, what I'm gonna do, I will change rotation on the Z to be 60. And for the turn right, I will change rotation to be minus 60. Now it means that when we are going to move, our spaceship will rotate to 60 degrees. You can also take and change this number to be something else like 50 or 45 or even more. It's up to you, but I will leave it as 60 for now. And in order everything to work, we need to go and code some more because otherwise it won't work. So open flyship script once again and we need few more variables. First of all, we need public game object to reference our player, and let's call it plain body, right? Semicolon. We also need one more public game object for our left turn, and public game object for our right turn. Those ones are for empty game objects that we just created. And we need one more public float for our smoothness. Turn smoothness. Okay. Now we can go on the fixed update, and when we are pressing our A key, which is here, we need to add some rotation to our spaceship. So we can say plane body dot transform dot rotation, and we will use special method which is quaternion dot slurp, and it will take a few parameters. It just takes 2 points and rotates between them with some float, which will be our smoothness. So first of all, we can say that we want our plane body dot transform dot rotation from this point, from our plane spaceship point, and we can say left turn dot transform dot rotation to our left side, and we can take here turn smoothness to have some smooth movement. Let's copy this line of code and let's place it here. When we are moving on the right side, we just need to change this left turn to be right turn. All right. And this one, as I said, is for when we are not touching anything. And I want my plane wings, my plane rotation to come to its original position. And I will explain what I'm saying. But right now, we can say that our plane body dot transform dot rotation will be equal quaternion, but this time let's use Euler, and it will take 0f. We don't need rotation. And for the z, we can say turn smoothness once again times time dot delta time for even more smooth movement. We can save this script, and I will talk about this line when we go back in Unity. And first of all, let's see our spaceship, and we need to assign these game objects. So for the plane body, we will drag and drop spaceship itself. For the left turn, we have this turn left, and for the right turn, we have this turn right, and for the turn smoothness, we will say something small like 0.03, and let's press play and see. Our movement should be better, and indeed it's better. Now our spaceship looks fine. And what I'm saying in that line, if you see when I'm moving on the left and just don't want any movement, rotation anymore, our spaceship automatically goes into original position. And that's exactly what we did there. It just comes to original rotation, original point. Amazing. Our plane is ready. And next thing that we are gonna do, we will make our spaceship to shoot some rockets, some missiles, and it will be fun. So let's work on it. For that, I have prepared this missile pack, and it comes with those rockets, and they are pretty big compared to our scene right now. So what we are going to do, we can change scaling to be 0.05 to all of our axes, and Z also. We can click F to zoom in, and it looks better now. Let's just change rotation to be 0, 0, and 0. And this missile already comes with some particle system, and as you see, our particle system is quite large because it was done for bigger model, and when we change scaling of our missile, this particle system just stayed as it was. So what we are gonna do, just select smoke and fire, and in particle system we can change scaling mode from shape to hierarchy, and that will do job. We can obviously change some more components if we want. Maybe you want different color, you can click on this color and change it to something like red or whatever color you want. And then select your missile, and what we need to add rigid body. So search in search box for rigid body, just uncheck use gravity, we don't need it, and freeze rotation on the X and Y. And that's it, our missile is ready. Now we can create prefab from our missile. To create prefab, you just drag and drop your missile into your assets folder. I won't do it anymore because I already have one in my assets, but you should do it. And then go ahead and delete your missile from the scene because we don't need it. The way we will handle our shooting mechanic, we will have some spawn points into our spaceship, 2 points, and we will spawn at our rocket at that point and launch them. So for that, let's create empty game objects on our spaceship. Create empty, let's call it spawn 1. It will be our spawn point 1, and let's duplicate, so you can click on the Control D, and let's name it spawn 2. And now let's position it where we want to shoot from. For our spawn 1, I think I will position it around here in the end of my wing. And let's see. Yeah, it looks fine. Little forward. Our spawn point will be here. We can drag it a little forward as well. Alright, and our spawn point 2, let's just position it same way to the other wing. If you are using some other spaceship which has already some shooting space, you should place your empty game object there, but for us it works fine. So it will be our spawn point 2 and spawn point 1, and basically from those 2 points we will launch our rocket. Now let's create empty game object into our scene, and let's call it just manager. We need this to handle some script of our missile. And now let's create new C# script, and I called it manager game. You obviously can name it anything you want. Just make sure to drag this script into your manager game object. Okay, and then we can double click and open in Visual Studio. Now what we need for our launching and shooting mechanic. First of all, we need reference to our rocket prefab, so into our missile. We can say public game object, and let's name it rocket prefab. Alright, we also need public transform for our spawn points, and let's call it spawn 1 and spawn 2, just to keep things easier. So those ones will be our empty game objects. We also need some fire interval because I want to have some delay between shooting. So I will say public float fire interval, and let's make it 1F. It will be, we will have 1 second before we shoot again. And we need one private bool, and let's name it campfire. And let's make it true. Well, if you don't know booleans, just return true or false, and they are very handy things, and we don't need this start actually, so let's delete it. And in the update, what we are gonna do, first of all, we should say that if we are touching some mouse button, in our case we will use left mouse because it's usually for shooting. So if input get button down, we can say here fire 1. What we are going to do, we can also say, because we have some boolean, that if can fire, which means that if we are able to fire, and here will go our main script, and let's make new script to keep everything organized, new method I mean, and let's call it some void fire rockets, and everything that goes here will be launched here, so in our update. So let's run fire rocket method here. After it, what we are gonna do, we are saying that can fire will equal false because we shoot already, and after it we will have some coroutine to have some delay, and let's say start coroutine, and coroutine name, I don't know what we can say reload delay, don't forget parentheses. And right now it has this red underline because we have not created this reload delay coroutine yet, and to do it we can use special method enumerator. We can say enumerator, and let's copy this name not to make any mistake. And in our enumerator, all we want to do is we need to have some delay, some interval, and we can say yield return new wait for seconds, and in parameter we can say fire interval. So it means that we will have some delay after we fire 1 second, and after 1 second we can fire again. If you don't want to have any delay, you will just skip this step, and after it we need to be able to shoot again, so can fire will become true. And now in our fire rockets we will actually instantiate our missile. So we can say instantiate, and this instantiate takes 3 parameters. As you see, it needs some object original, it needs position, and it needs some rotation. So for object original we have our rocket prefab, and now we should say our spawn point spawn1 dot position, and for rotation I don't want any rotation, so we can say quaternion dot identity, which means no rotation at all. We can copy this line of code and paste here, and change the spawn point 1 to spawn 2 dot position, because we have the spawn 2, and basically what it does, it instantiates our rocket prefab when we click on our mouse button, and those ones are just our positions that we created earlier, spawn 1 and spawn 2, and we have this underline here because it's case sensitive, guys, so always write correctly everything, otherwise it won't work. So our script for this manager is ready. We can save it, click on Ctrl S or Command S, and let's go back in Unity, and we will have to do one more script for our missile itself. It will be very simple script, but first of all let's assign a few things in our manager game object. Let's our script compile, and then we will continue. I don't know why it takes so long, what is wrong. with it, but hopefully it will start soon. Sorry guys. Yeah, when we click on the manager, we see this rocket prefab, and we can drag our rocket there. And for the spawn 1 and spawn 2, we have our spawn 1 and our spawn 2. This missile goes here, and fire interval will stay as 1. You can change it, obviously. I just want 1 second interval. I think it will be fine. And now in our prefab, in our missile prefab, we can click on the add component, and you can type here missile control. I already have added this script, but in your case it will be as a new script, and just add that new script, create one with the name of missile control, and let's open in Visual Studio and see what we are going to do. First, we need some float for our move speed, because we want our rocket, our missile, to have some speed. So we can say public float move speed, and we will assign it in the inspector later. We also need reference to our rigid body, so rigid body RB, just in start, let's get reference to our rigid body. So RB equals get component rigid body, parenthesis, semicolon, and that's it. We can use our rigid body, and in the update we can say that our rb.velocity equals new vector 3. We already saw this method, and we don't need to change x, so let's make it 0f and 0f. And for the z-axis we can say move speed times time dot delta time. So we will change our forward speed, because our rocket will launch in the forward direction, which is z-axis in our case. And let's have some coroutine here as well, because I want to destroy my rocket after a few seconds, otherwise it will just stay on the unlimited time into our game, and it will be not good for our performance. So we can use coroutine once again, and let's name our coroutine destroy. Don't forget parentheses, and that's it. Now all we need to do is create our enumerator for our coroutine, the same name, so type here destroy, parentheses, curly brackets, and we can say here yield return new, wait 4 seconds, and let's have to destroy our rockets after 2 seconds. So I will type here 2. It's not what we want wait 4 seconds, 2, and after it let's say destroy game object, and it will destroy our game object. Now we have some problems. We have this underline with the name of destroy. So what we're gonna do, we can rename this coroutine, and we can say destroy game, and here also we can say destroy game. Let's save this script, and this underline is still here because the typing is incorrect. Now everything is fine. We can save this script and go back in Unity. I hope you understand this script. This one was easier than others. I think we just get reference for our rigid body, and we just make some movement on the z-axis, forward movement, and after 2 seconds we are destroying our rocket. So let's go back in Unity and have a look if everything works fine, if we don't have any red errors. Onto our missile, we can make our move speed anything we want here, And actually, let's make it 82K. And I think we are ready to go and see how everything looks like. And if we are able to launch our missile when we click on the fire, we can move. And let's see. Yes, indeed, we are ready. Now our missiles are going too fast, I think. What do you think, guys? So we can lower our number in our missile prefab and make it 75K. Maybe it will look fine. You obviously just play tests and you will get to right number. And let's see. It's fast as well, but I will leave it. You can lower your number even more and it will look fine. And right now our scene is pretty boring. I want some black sky. So I have prepared some prefab for skybox and I will teach you easily how to change your skybox into your scenes. You can go in the window and in the rendering you will see this lighting, and in the environment you will see the skybox material, and here you can drag any skybox you want if you have some pack, and I will leave the link to skybox pack there, or you can click on this dot and find here all the skyboxes that are available into your game. And I will think that I want to use this and I think I'll use this one, and it looks fine. We can also change source to color if we want, and it will just pump up our buildings, and we can change our ambient color as well to be red or something. You will get to play to see how it looks like and what it feels better. We can change, of course, resolutions to have some higher quality if we want, and just click on the generate lighting and it will just generate very fast. And that's it, guys. I think my buildings are too bright, too red, and I'll make it like this. Never mind. So let's press play and see how everything looks like. I think my skybox is a little bit too dark, but we can always change them. Oh, one more thing that we are going to do. We don't have any mechanic to actually restart our game when we crash to our buildings. So we can change it very easily. First of all, go into File, and in the build settings you will see this window. I already have my scene here, but if yours looks like this, just click on the Add Open Scenes and it will add our current scene into our projects. Otherwise, the next steps won't work. Then we can open this Flyship script and we can use special method here on collision enter. And basically what it does, it just runs when our player collides with something. And as you know, our buildings, all of them have colliders, and our player as well. So we can restart our game here, basically, simply. But for that, we should add this using Unity Engine.scene management here. Just type using Unity Engine.scene management. Otherwise, our script won't recognize what we are going to do. And here we can say that scene manager dot load scene. In parentheses, we can type 0, which means index 0. And this index 0 comes to from our build settings that we have just done. In the fire build settings, as you see, our scene as this 0 index. That's why we type 0. So when we crash on and when we touch one of our buildings, our game will restart. By the way, if your spaceship looks dark, you can always add some point lights maybe, or any other light. Let's see how it looks like. Point light, let's make it red, I think. And we can play around with our point light and change range or intensity. So let's change range and let's change intensity as well. And it will have these nice looks. You can play around with lighting. I won't do it much, but just test if everything works fine and if we are able to restart our game. Right now we are moving, but when we crash to building, our game restarts. Amazing, guys. That's exactly what we need. And we can shoot missiles. And you can take your game from here and add some counter and some timing, maybe work on some UI, and you can also add some asteroids between your obstacles, and you can crush your asteroids with your rockets. That's why we created this shooting mechanic, and you will just have some fun. That's the main point. And if you want to see more videos like this, please just like this video and subscribe to my channel, and of course don't forget to ring notification bell not to miss any new upcoming videos. I'll see you soon, and thanks for watching.